Hello, welcome to story time. It's nice to be with you. Let's do our opening song. We make the sign for hello and we make the sign for friends and we sing, hello friends, hello friends, hello friends, it's time to read a book. Today I thought, since it's February, and it turns out that February 12th is the beginning of the Lunar New Year. Some people call it the Chinese New Year, but it's really the Lunar New Year. And the Lunar New Year is basically a celebration that many Asian countries like China, South Korea, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, they celebrate the beginning of the first new moon of their calendar, of the lunisolar calendar. So it's a slightly different calendar than we use here, but the Lunar New Year starts in either January or February, depending on what's happening. And the Lunar New Year is a celebration, like a lot of times when we have our New Year, we celebrate with fireworks and things like that. And so do people who celebrate the Lunar New Year. They have dragon dances and lion dances and gifts sometimes and fireworks. And then it usually ends with a lantern festival. So let's read some books about the Lunar New Year, and also just written by some Asian authors. First book is called Ruby's Chinese New Year. It's by Vicki Lee. It's illustrated by Joey Chow. So this is one version of a Lunar New Year. Okay. Every year, Ruby's grandmother came to visit for Chinese New Year. Together, they celebrated eating special foods and making drawings for good luck. But this year, grandmother was unable to travel. Maybe there was a pandemic, who knows? She would miss spending the holiday with Ruby. And so Ruby made a decision. If grandmother could not come to Ruby, Ruby would go to grandmother. I guess it's not a pandemic. Ruby drew the most beautiful picture of her family seated around a table full of noodles, dumplings, fish, vegetables, and holiday sweets. A gift for grandmother. She drew a beautiful picture. Here's the table, all the good foods they have. She folded the red paper, tucked it into a red envelope, and slipped it into her pocket. Not far down the path, Ruby spied Cat and Rat. Hello, Cat and Rat. I'm taking a gift for Chinese New Year to grandmother. Would you like to come along? Yes, of course, said Cat, but how will we cross the meadow and the pond? Let's ask Ox, said Rat. She's so strong and dependable. And so Cat and Rat and Ruby continued on their way. Ox was walking along the path to the farmer's home. On her back, she carried packages of rice cakes and candies, sweet treats for the new year. Hello, Ox, called Cat and Rat. We are taking a gift for Chinese New Year to grandmother. Would you like to come along? I would be happy to, said Ox. Climb on my back. We will make the journey together. And so Ox, Cat, and Rat, and Ruby continued on their way. Before the group had taken 2 steps, Tiger and Rabbit bounded out of the bushes, streamers flying behind them. Streamers are often used in these celebrations, right? Hello, Tiger. Hello, Rabbit, said Ox. We are taking a gift for Chinese New Year to grandmother. Would you like to come along? Oh, yes, that sounds fun, said Tiger and Rabbit in unison. And so Cat took a seat on Tiger's powerful back, and Rat perched between Rabbit's soft, friendly ears. Together, I don't hear these guys, and these guys are joining together. Tiger and Rabbit, Ox, Cat and Rat, and Ruby continued on their way. They soon passed Dragon and Snake, who were making paper lanterns. "Hello, friends. Where are you off to?" asked Snake. "We are taking a gift to Grandmother," said Tiger. "Would you like to come along?" "Of course I would." Snake loved Grandmother and was happy to visit her. "We will bring the lanterns," said Snake. "Will you come too, Dragon?" asked Rabbit. "Of course," said Dragon, who was always ready for an adventure. So Dragon and Snake, Tiger and Rabbit, Ox, Cat and Rat, and Ruby continued on their way. They were making these kind of lanterns. We'll make one like that at the end of our stories. As they walked along, Ruby saw Horse and Goat grazing in the meadow. "Hello," said Dragon and Snake. "We are taking a gift to Grandmother. Would you like to come along?" "Yes," said Horse and Goat together. First they gathered flowers from the meadow. Then Horse and Goat, Dragon and Snake, Tiger and Rabbit, Ox, Cat and Rat, and Ruby continued on their way. Quite a parade. After a short while, Horse and Goat, Dragon and Snake, Tiger and Rabbit, Ox, Cat and Rat, and Ruby reached the pond, where Monkey and Rooster were catching fish for the holiday feast. And through the shrubs, just on the other side, Ruby could see Grandmother's house. With a leap and a bound, Ruby dove into the pond. She would swim to Grandmother's. She was so close. She couldn't wait. Whoa, look at them all. When Ruby finally reached the other side of the pond, Monkey and Rooster, Horse and Goat, Dragon and Snake, Tiger and Rabbit, Ox and Cat and Rat were waiting with her card for Grandmother. "Oh no," cried Ruby. "It's ruined. Everything is ruined." How does a paper card do when it goes in the water? Not so well, right? "It's not ruined," crowed Rooster. "We have fish," said Monkey. "And flowers," said Horse and Goat. "We have lanterns," said Dragon and Snake. "And streamers," added Tiger and Rabbit. "We have rice cakes and sweets," said Ox. "And we have our family," said Cat and Rat, looking toward the house. That's the most important part of all of the celebration, isn't it? As Monkey and Rooster, Horse and Goat, Dragon and Snake, Tiger and Rabbit, Ox, Cat and Rat, and Ruby turned to look, Dog and Pig came racing out to greet them. They covered Ruby's face with kisses and tickled her until she shrieked with joy. The door opened, and Grandmother appeared. "Ruby, what a wonderful surprise," said Grandmother. "I brought you a gift for Chinese New Year," said Ruby, "but it got wet and ruined." "Don't worry," said Grandmother. "It will dry, and seeing you and your friends today is the best gift of all." Together, Dog and Pig, Monkey and Rooster, Horse and Goat, Dragon and Snake, Tiger and Rabbit, Ox, Rat, Ruby, and Grandmother laid out their table. Everyone was ready to celebrate Chinese New Year, except for Cat, who had fallen fast asleep. And that's the end. That is one version of celebrating a Lunar New Year. Did you know the word lunar means moon, right? So a lunar New Year has to do when the moon has changed, when the moon is new. And here is a book about the moon. A Big Mooncake for Little Star. This is by Grace Lynn. big mooncake for little star. Little star's mama laid the big mooncake onto the night sky to cool. Now little star, mama said, your mooncake took us a long time to bake, so let's see if you can make it last a while. Can you remember not to touch this big mooncake until I tell you to? Yes, mama, little star said, nodding. Can you avoid touching something when your mom says, please don't touch it until I tell you? That's really hard, isn't it? And little star remembered as she brushed her teeth, washed her face, snuggled into bed, and fell asleep. But in the middle of the night, little star woke up. She forgot everything her mother had said and only remembered the big mooncake. Pat, 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 little star's soft feet tiptoed to the big mooncake. Would her mama notice if she took a tiny nibble? Little star didn't think so. Yum. But was someone coming? Little star flew back to bed. The next night, little star remembered the big mooncake again. That one bite had been so sweet and tasty. Was the cake still there? Yes, it was. There was that big mooncake, an almost perfect circle, all alone and delicious in the sky. Would her mama notice if she took another tiny nibble? Little star didn't think so. Yum! Little star flew back to bed. And the next night, what do you think little star remembered? The big mooncake, of course. Would mama notice if she took another tiny nibble? Little star didn't think so. Yum! And the night after that, what did little star do? Nibble, nibble, yum! What's happening to that moon cake? Night after night, little star took tiny nibble after tiny nibble of the big moon cake. You can see the way the moon changes, right? This is a legend or a story about how the moon changes. Until one night, little star's mama went to look for the big moon cake. Where was it? It was gone. Instead of a glowing round cake, there was just a trail of twinkling crumbs. Little star, her mama said, shaking her head even though her mouth was curving. You ate the big mooncake again, didn't you? Little star looked up, her grin reflecting her mama's smile. Yes, Mama, little star said, nodding. Let's go make another one. That's what happens with the moon, too, doesn't it? It's full, and then it gets a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, and it gets to a tiny bit, and then it's gone. But then it always comes back. A big moon cake for little star. That's a cute one. But speaking of moon, I think we should zoom there, don't you think? Let's get our hands together. You ready? Zoom, 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 we're going to the moon. Zoom, 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 we're going to the moon. If you want to take a trip, climb aboard my rocket ship. Zoom, 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 we're going to the moon. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! Nice. Let's do a couple more books and then we'll try making some paper lanterns. Does that sound good? This is a book by Ed Young, and he's a man that was born in China, and he's moved around a bit since then. But this is called The Cat from Hunger Mountain. This is kind of another fable. This is a fable. Once on Hunger Mountain, there lived a wealthy lord who had everything imaginable, yet never had enough. Here he is. Can you see him okay? He had everything imaginable, but never enough. The strongest workers built him the tallest pagoda. He lived there, high above everyone. The finest tailor made his clothing from spun silk and threads of gold. Here is beautiful clothing, the best clothing ever. Hunters gifted him with rare meats, and skilled chefs prepared lavish meals with rice from the Lord's own fields. So he had fancy meals, fine clothes, the tallest pagoda, the tallest house. Here he is. When Lord Cat's servants, here's one of his servants, asked if their master had finished his meal, they were scolded. "Are you blind? Can't you see that the bowl is half empty? Take it away." So here's his bowl of rice, and he's eaten about half of it. And he says, "Of course I'm done. Take it away." Hunger Mountain was famed for its delicious rice, which grew in paddies tended by servants. More servants would then wash the rice grains in the rapid waters of the great river. Here's the rice. Lord Cat stood watch from his pagoda and yelled, "Faster! There is more rice to harvest! Harvest!" He's not a very nice Lord Cat, is he? Life continued in this fashion until the land was struck by drought. That means there was not enough rain, not enough water. Weeks turned into months, and months into a year without rain. The farmers' crops all failed. So all the things that the farmers were growing couldn't grow. Even the Lord's own rice fields failed. So the rice stopped growing because there wasn't enough water. Villagers grew hungry. With his wealth, however, Lord Cat continued his lavish ways. He had so much money he could keep buying what he needed. The famine, the hunger, persisted a second year. Without food, the villagers all left the mountain and moved to the city where life was easier. There wasn't enough food, so they moved to find more food somewhere else. Now the Lord's great wealth was useless. There was no one left to build tall pagodas or weave elegant clothing. There were no meats or rice to cook, and no one to prepare them. Still, he refused to leave. What would life be without all of his possessions? That means all the things he owned, all the things he had. He thought, what would life be without all that? Finally, he got so hungry. Finally, he was starving with no food to be found. Lord Cat closed his mountain home and went begging to all corners of his land, yet no one was there to help. So he wandered alone, mile after mile. Eventually, he spotted two beggars like himself warming themselves by a fire. They told him of a kind monk in a modest temple nearby who gave free food to the hungry. They offered to show him where. They left early the next morning, and on arrival they saw a line of hungry souls all waiting to be fed. Lord Cat's turn finally came. The monk scooped a spoonful of steaming rice into his bowl, filling it halfway. It was the fullest bowl of rice he could remember having eaten. I must ask you, he said to the monk. See the beautiful monk here? How have you managed to come across such a fine grain in such difficult times? The monk heaved a sigh and said, I am so fortunate to live at the bottom of Hunger Mountain, where for years a rich lord would wash his rice carelessly in the great river. The wasted grains trickled down to my stream, where I collected and stored them over the years. Now I have more than I could eat in 1,000 days, so I am happy to share with all in need. Lord Cat looked at the now empty bowl in his hands. He realized he had been fed with his own wasted food. And for the first time ever, he knew what it felt like to be truly blessed. That's quite a fable, isn't it? Let's read one more. This is kind of a fun one. That was kind of a serious one, wasn't it? This is a fun one. Amy Wu and the Patchwork Dragon by Kat Zhang, and it's illustrated. The pictures are by Shirley and Chua. This will be a little bit more colorful. Have you ever tried to make something and you just don't like the way it's coming out? Sometimes that can happen, right? Well, during story time, Ms. Mary reads Amy's class a book about dragons. We had story time about dragons a few months ago, didn't we? Dragons that hoard treasures, keep out. Dragons that blow fire. Dragons that fight knights in gleaming armor. Afterwards, she tells everyone to make their own dragons. Make them special, she says. Make them yours. Sam draws a dragon with enormous teeth. He crafts the wings from postage stamps. Oh, that's clever. Willa sculpts a dragon with a big fat belly. She strings daisies for the tail. They're being very creative, aren't they? Amy paints a dragon with a long, thin body. It has horns like a stag and claws like an eagle. Are you sure that's a dragon? Asked Sam. It doesn't look like a dragon, adds Willa. Amy says. Maybe they're right. Amy scribbles with her pencil and doodles with her crayons. She glues beads to the paper and some to her hair. Bits of dragons emerge. Dragons with shiny green scales. Dragons with leathery wings. They look great. They look just like the dragons in Ms. Mary's book, but none of them work. None of them feel quite right. These dragons are not the dragons Amy wanted to make. Willa and Sam come over after school, but Amy can't even smile. Oh dear, said Amy's grandma. Why the sad face? So Amy tells her. Her grandma gets a twinkle in her eye. Come, she says, let me tell you a story. She tells them about dragons that bring down the rain. Dragons that are wise and just. Dragons that fly without wings. Amy runs to the attic. She remembers where she got the idea for her dragon. She pulls out something red and yellow, something with a big fat snout and golden horns. A dragon, gasp Sam and Willa. A dragon, agrees Amy. Amy's grandma puts on the costume's head and Amy puts on the tail. Whoa, look at them go. Together they dance down the attic steps and roar through the house. Maybe you can bring it to school, says Sam. Please, please bring it to school, begs Willa. Says Amy. She thinks about the dragons in Ms. Mary's book. She thinks about the dragons in Grandma's story. Bringing this dragon to class would be great, but there's something missing. Something to make the dragon Amy's. After Sam and Willa go home, Amy begins to plan. She shows her sketches to her family. Will you help me? She asks. They measure out fabric and cut it into shape. They carve a cardboard frame and fasten the cloth. Amy knots together 3 silk scarves. Then she adds some beads. This is a very complicated dragon. Ready? Asks Grandma. Amy takes a deep breath. Ready, she says. Amy comes to school with a big paper bag. The other children gather around. Is it your dragon? Asks Willa. Show us, cries Sam. Ooh, Amy puts on the dragon's head. She invites Willa and Sam beneath the dragon's tail, and together they dance through the classroom and roar between the desks. Everybody cheers. Miss Mary laughs so hard she can't even breathe. Amy's dragon is red and yellow. It has a big fat snout and golden horns. It has enormous green wings and a tail of 3 silk scarves and beads and glitter, lots of glitter. It works splendidly. It feels just right. It is exactly the dragon Amy wanted to make. That was a fancy dragon, wasn't it? Let's try to make a quick project that you could do at home with a piece of paper. I'm choosing a yellow piece of paper. And I thought maybe I could show you how to make a Chinese lantern. And you can decorate it with drawing or stickers or I don't know, anything you want, right? Because it can like Amy's dragon, it can be what you want it to be. So I'm just going to try to draw some. I'm drawing with marker because it's dark and it can show up maybe better than you can see it on the video. Make little stems. I'm just going to put some flowers on here. You see that? Okay. But you could draw just whatever you want. Okay. I can't say these are perfect flowers. I just made purple flowers. I'm gonna put a little red in the center. You of course can just, maybe you'll want to draw a dragon on your Chinese lantern. Who knows? On your paper lantern. Okay. That's going to be my picture for today. Okay. Once you've drawn a picture on your piece of paper, then you can fold it in half, lengthwise like this, sort of like hot dog, right? Fold it in half. And then, if you know how to cut, that's great. And if you don't, you can have an adult help you. You might want to make a little line, maybe with a pencil or something, so that you don't cut beyond this line. Mine's not very straight. And then you just start cutting strips. You can cut them all the way up to that line. See that? All the way up. But not farther than that, right? So for this project, you would just need a piece of paper, something to draw with, or stickers, and some scissors, and glue. And then you could put a little handle on there if you had some string, or some yarn, or a pipe cleaner. I didn't do that with mine, I'll admit. Okay, so I cut a bunch of strips in my paper, right? But I didn't cut, I left this edge here. I didn't cut beyond that edge, right? And now I can unfold it, and along one of the edges that you didn't cut on, you can put some glue or some tape, anything that'll stick. I'm going to put some glue stick, right? Okay. And then, oops, and then I'm going to fold it like that. I'm going to fold the other edge. Oh, gee. I'm a little confused. I meant this way. Sorry. You put the glue on this side. Sorry, not the long side that you didn't cut on. That was silly. You put the glue on the short side, and then you fold it and cover it with the other end of the paper. You can pretend you don't see that glue there. Okay. Glue the short sides together, and then you've got a beautiful lantern, right? And you can make little holes in the paper and tie a string or something like that. If you make a few lanterns, you can hang them up as decoration or use them for a parade and celebrate the Lunar New Year. Thanks for watching Storytime again. I miss you. Let's sing our goodbye song. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. Have a great week.